Hello, everyone, and welcome to the HP Podcast, episode number 321. That's 321. That's what they call it in showbiz. Episode 321. Uh, appreciate everybody for being here. Mostly, I appreciate the beautiful boys for being here with me. And the beautiful boys would be Brandon and Dave. Brandon, you are wearing a Yingling shirt for those who can't see it, but that's not the really interesting part. The really interesting part is your microphone's light is shining upon the word Yingling as if it were a billboard.
Oh no.
Are
That's
you
kinda
being paid
nice.
for this appearance currently by Yingling?
Type code Glorious Ginger in the Yingling checkout for 15% off, and free shipping on orders over $150. Does that answer your
So
question?
yes, is that what you're? What's our cut?
Ying.
Can I just
Oh.
yell that code at the cashier? Does it work that way too?
I think so. Try it. Try it. Try it until it works,
Okay.
or you get arrested. One of the two. One of the two.
Bro, imagine you just walked into a beer distributor and you were like, "Glorious Ginger," and he was like, "Here, it's cheaper now. Take it." Jeez, that'd be good. That'd be the
That's
life.
how they do it, man. That's
You
how
doing
they
all
do
right?
it.
You doing all right? Drinking lots of Yingling?
Me, yeah, I'm doing all right. I had an interesting day. I had like I don't know, let me think, like a 30 by 70 piece of glass I was carrying. It was about 60 pounds. And I was going to set it on something today, and it exploded right in front of my face, and like in my hands while I was holding it. And that was kind of exhilarating. Let's describe it that way. My heart was pounding very fast. It literally exploded.
Yeah.
And luckily it was the kind that breaks into little pieces and not big shards, because I probably could have got hurt. But
Yeah, dude, that sounds.
yeah, it was.
Imagine if you're carrying it too. You're like, there's like some part of you that's like holding it up here near your neck.
No, exactly. Like literally, I was going to put it on something exactly how you were describing.
Yeah.
And the corner must have just barely bumped off something, because that's what happens with tempered glass. Like all the corners are the weakest, right?
Yeah.
But the whole thing is strong.
Right.
And so I must have just hit it just right off of something when I was setting it to put it on this cart, and the entire thing, while it was still in my hands, literally turned into dust and made a loud bang noise, because the whole thing exploded,
Yeah.
and it made a fucking mess.
I bet.
So that was interesting. I've broken a lot of glass. It's like an inevitability in what I do for my job, but never while holding it like that exactly. So that was interesting. I got Chipotle for dinner, and it's payday, so I decided to treat myself with some guac. Not that I could always afford guac, but I don't always think it's worth it to get it every time, even though I like it. So I said treat yourself. So between that and the guac, I'm feeling pretty good, man. I know that I'm still alive, because my heart was beating real fast, and I got to treat myself to some guac. And
You're also like, hey, you know what? I almost died. I might as well get the guac when I want the guac.
get the guac. And
Can tempered glass kill you, Brandon?
For the purposes of the story, Dave, it can.
No, not really. I mean, that's the whole idea of tempered glass. But if it was annealed glass, is what I was saying, I could have easily sliced one of my arteries in my leg or something like that. So the idea is that it breaks into little tiny, like a 1,000 small chunks, and those are I don't want to say dull. They're hardly sharp at all. Like you could pick them up with your bare hands. I wouldn't do it, but you could.
Yeah.
It's like what comes in glass fireplaces. When you get that blue stone in there, that's just tempered blue glass. So
Well,
the whole
speaking
thing, I'm holding it like this, and it turns into the fireplace glass.
Speaking of paydays, before we go to Dave here, Hulk Hogan came in with a $5 super chat. We appreciate that. Does anybody do a really good Hulk Hogan impression?
I can do Macho Man Randy
All right,
Savage.
can
a
you
little
read
bit, but
the super chat? And
that would be blasphemy. I can't do that. It's
I
from
want
Hulk
to
Hogan.
hear-
I can't.
it's Hulk Hogan's words in Randy Savage's voice. I think it's okay.
I can't. You can't. Okay, I'll give it a shot. What you gonna do when Ben Brandon and that other pukester Dave, their 24-inch pythons and handsome Phantomania run wild on you, dude, Jack?
I think it works. I think it works.
It's pretty comparable.
Yeah.
I
pretty
always
close.
got the snip it into a Slim Jim.
Yeah.
And I've never really expanded upon it. So thank you for.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
That
no
hurt.
good
That
stinking
no good
macho,
stink.
man.
Hey, we appreciate it, Hulk Hogan. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Dave, on to you. Macho Dave. Did you have a good day?
I did. I didn't break any glass on myself. Yeah, we don't have Yingling in Canada, and I'm glad we started talking about this because I've seen that brand of beer before. I've never tried it. I assume I'm not missing anything, but I'm just glad we talked about it because I never knew how to say the name. Yingling.
Oh.
Is that one
local.
of those contentious things where some people say it one way, some people say it another, or is it just
Nope.
Yingling?
I imagine somebody says it differently, but like Yingling is the oldest brewery in America, and it's like still family run. And it's only a few hours from us. So like everybody around us definitely knows how to say it. I know that they have recently started distributing to Florida and California, even to some extent, and probably other places in between. So I imagine somewhere there's somebody who doesn't say it Yingling, but everybody around here knows. It's been around forever, 100 and some years. So
it's Ying, baby. You got to get the Ying.
And so, is it good or is it just beer?
It's fine. It's fine.
it's good. Yeah. I mean,
it's fine.
I have a hard time with lagers because they give me a headache. So I haven't drank it in years, but
yeah,
it's the best of the non-craft beers you can get.
Yeah.
in my
it's
opinion.
like a good go-to. It does give me heartburn like half the time. But they have a good black and tan as well as Oktoberfest that's decent. So
They came out with a light beer a few years ago that you said's pretty good. I haven't tried it.
yeah,
I did drink one at your house actually.
yeah, the Ying Light.
Yeah,
Isn't there a Ying Flight?
Yeah.
Yeah, the light sucks. Never get the light.
Okay.
But there's one called Ying Flight that is also a light beer, and it's the newer version of it. It's much better.
Nice. A friend of mine, I went to her wedding a few years ago, and we like stayed at her house and pulled up, and I was like, the Yingling Brewery is like right there, like within
Pottstown, right?
yeah, within rock throwing distance, essentially. So it was cool. But Dave, other than that, you're good? You doing well?
Yeah, I'm good. I think we need to address something though.
Please.
We have a Discord, which Ben will plug shortly, and we have a sub chat, a group chat, as it were, in the Discord. That's just for the HP hosts. It's very confidential. It's very private. It's only meant for the hosts of the HP podcast.
Yeah.
But we accidentally invited a listener to this private chat. And none of us seemed to know that this listener was in our private chat. And in this private chat, we share secrets about the shows, what we're going to talk about, things we're going to do. And, I think we need to get ahead of this, fellas, and address that we had this private chat that somebody was invited to and they weren't supposed to be there. And, that person was Radek, of course. And before they go to the media and tell everybody all the trade secrets about Handsome Phantom, we'd like to apologize and own up to our mistake. We're going to do better,
Yeah.
Those people shouldn't be in our chat. This is just for the hosts.
Be better.
That's right. That's right.
So.
Now, I need to break kayfabe here for a minute. Did this actually happen?
No.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Radek.
I'm just making fun of the 11th province because it's kind of funny what's happening down there. But
Okay. I wasn't paying attention to anything in the real world at all. But yeah, Radek, we don't appreciate how you broke into our chat. And you were probably real bored in there because the real juice, the real HP podcast juice is in our planning doc, not in the Discord channel.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do have the Wendy Williams butt trainer in here, but that's literally the juiciest thing. And then I have a photo of just actual Wendy Williams.
the HP host chat is quiet from about Tuesday night all the way through until the following Tuesday afternoon when we're scrambling to figure out what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So
And by we, Ben and Dave. Sometimes I find articles. Sometimes. Not very often.
I don't know why I singled out Radek there. I figured if anyone was to bust into a private chat and see things they weren't supposed to that were actually incriminating, he would be the first one to make
Go
a
to the
mess of
media.
it. Yeah, yeah.
No, Radek
He-
will take things to his grave if he likes you. I can assure you of that. Well,
good
he's
to
not
know.
dead yet,
Okay.
so I can't guarantee it. But like, I've probably had some conversations with Radek that I wouldn't want being public, and they've remained unpublic so far. So,
At least to people that you've talked to.
well, that's the public, you know. What makes the public the public? You know about it, right? Radek got no. I'm not reading that.
I was gonna say I saw that. I was like, okay, all right.
Well, just in case we have a lawsuit we have to file against Radek for breaking into our. Well, okay, real quick, we actually do have an infiltrator in our group, Dustin, who used to be a host of the show. So I guess he's kind of an honorary member of the Discord. Dustin's technically still in that channel just because he's like an admin on the Discord. But I really strongly doubt he ever looks at it or listens to the show for that matter. So
Yeah,
we could say whatever we wanted.
He probably hasn't muted.
Hopefully, I would. You can support us on Patreon in case we have any lawsuit bills we need to pay. Patreon.com/handsomephantom. We appreciate it. Little as $1 a month. Ad-free early access to the show. If you're an audio listener, which many of you are, we appreciate it. And that's about all I have to say about that. Boys, it sounds like this is the first step towards let Radek host. Radek couldn't host his way out of a paper bag. I don't know. Maybe he could. Never thought about it. Never heard Radek on a podcast that I know of. Now I'm going to get in trouble for not listening to one of my friends' podcasts or something. Let's just get into the news before I dig a hole. This comes from Tech for Gamers. It says multiplayer gameplay dominating industry with more than 60% of devs focusing on online games. Despite colossal AAA multiplayer failures in the past few years, the focus on multiplayer games isn't fading as it remains the most profitable long-term approach in the gaming industry. A new report backs this claim by revealing that more than 60% of developers are working on online games. Multiplayer games have been subject to much criticism from consumers. Many believe a focus on traditional single-player experiences should be the way forward for the industry. A new report published by Unity shows that 64% of the developers are working on an online or couch co-op game. Before now, couch co-op games were seemingly a dying genre. However, It Takes Two and Split Fiction have seemingly inclined developers to shift their focus toward couch co-op. It's a really good thing in my opinion. Moreover, the report reveals developers are innovating and exploring new media, formats, and features in online games. The media and format could suggest events in games such as virtual concerts in Fortnite featuring megastars. Okay, one more thing.
Nobody wants that.
88% of developers say that gamers' overall playtime is increasing massively.
Isn't that
which
the
is
opposite of
interesting.
what we heard a couple weeks ago?
No, I think what we talked about recently was that most players play fewer hours of games than we expected, but that means it's increasing to fewer hours than we expected from way fewer than we expected.
Understood.
Yeah. Boys, there's a lot of online games and a lot of them are going to fail, but it doesn't mean that if you hit a big one, you're not going to be rich. But what do you think about this? How do you feel it relates to your personal preferences? How do you think that affects the industry as a whole? Dave.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to see more of the traditional couch co-op games come back or the more modern take that we're seeing from Mr. Ferris, I don't know that we're going to see too much of that. There's a couple issues with this poll that was taken. Number one, it was only focused on Unity. But in one way, I think that's actually kind of saying quite a bit. And when they asked the question, they said multiplayer or couch co-op. I would have liked to have seen the split, like was 90% of that multiplayer and 10% couch co-op. In any case, it's interesting to see this number, but it's not all that surprising just because we've heard so much over the past several years about how game development has crept up in terms of how expensive it is. And I think with how inconsistent single player games have been, it's not surprising that it's, single player game development is getting more risky. It's really, really expensive. It's only getting more expensive. And even games with, that are very well received critically aren't necessarily selling well. I think the market is changing in a way where there's an expectation that there is a multiplayer component and I can play your game for months and even years after launch. I also think a lot of gamers are a little bit more lenient with developers when it comes to multiplayer games because, they know that the game is going to be updated on a live basis. They know that, bugs on day one won't necessarily be there in a few months. And I think they give a little bit of a longer leash to developers when it comes to multiplayer focused games or games with a significant multiplayer component. And then from the business side, I just think there's so many more revenue generating opportunities in a multiplayer game than there is in a game that's focused just on the single player experience. Obviously, you have, just in-game microtransactions, you have expansions, you have cosmetics, all that kind of stuff. The revenue generating tail is so much longer on a multiplayer game. So from a business standpoint, when game development has become so risky and the ROI isn't guaranteed, then of course developers and publishers are going to want to lean towards multiplayer experiences. So this isn't a surprise, and I think where it gets a little bit scary is our publishers seeing this and thinking, let's make less Uncharted and Last of Us type games and more Concords. And, even if we try and make 10 different Concords and 9 of them fail, that one that's a hit is going to make us enough money to compensate for all the failures. So they see that kind of stuff. I think as gamers, we are at risk of losing more of those really, really good single player games. So, I think it's just kind of a product of the way that the industry is going.
Brandon, you love multiplayer.
Yes.
And you love single player.
Sure.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I'd really love to know because, let's take a game like Death Stranding, for instance. Would that be counted as a multiplayer game? Because technically it has multiplayer elements. So that's what I think is something that's important and of note in this whole multiplayer experience is that the first thing that comes to mind when you think of a multiplayer game is something like Call of Duty, something like Apex, something like Fortnite, right? But with the way games are made now, I mean, developers are starting to implement really creative ways that don't always necessarily mean you're directly playing with your friends. Video games often have some sort of online component, even if it's not direct PvP elements. So I think that this will continue to expand not only in the traditional sense, but that almost every type of game, single player or otherwise, will have some component of online adjacent features. Just because that's kind of the way things are going. Dave said a lot of what I was thinking, and I agree with him a lot there. I think it's obviously a big risk to, bank on people playing your single player experience, and there's so many more ways to make money. But I think there's also something to be said for multiplayer experiences. Word of mouth is super important, right? And I just think about telling my friends and the people I work with about something that we all could play together. I feel like that holds a lot of weight. And when you can share things with your audience on Twitch and play games with your audience on Twitch, I just think multiplayer experiences sometimes offer really big, payback. Because just the nature of the multiplayer experience. So
this is unrelated to the story, but I just find myself, even though I'm wanting to play more single player games all the time, I'm finding myself, when I have the option, preferring to play with my friends than to play single player games. It's an interesting juxtaposition. I don't really have much to add to what you guys said, so I'm good to move on. Dave, this next story you added here, Dave put together the notes this week and last week and probably next week too. We'll see. But this next story you brought here is from videogamer.com, and it talks about a Monster Hunter Wilds player being permanently banned for using mods. I wanted to have you dig in and find out what you thought was interesting about it.
Okay.
I mean, you're free to read the story too if you like, but
yeah, I will read the story for you. 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah, so this comes from videogamer.com. Since release, Monster Hunter Wilds players have downloaded mod after mod to enhance their experience. Mods for the game not only improve the game's visual quality, but also unlock paid cosmetic changes for free. For the most part, players have gotten away with using any mod within the new Monster Hunter game on PC. However, one player has found themselves permanently banned from using the game for using mods. Banned from the game for using mods. A single Chinese player of Capcom's latest adventures shared their story on social media platform Bilibili, I've never heard of that, via Reddit after being banned for using mods. Initially, other players claimed they were simply playing modded quests inside a multiplayer lobby, which resulted in a multiplayer ban. However, it turns out that's not the actual cause of the ban. Instead, Capcom is banning players that use mods to unlock paid DLC cosmetics and play with them on online servers without paying. For example, players who attempt to gain access to items like Hunter Lair armor set, feudal soldier outfit without paying are in risk of permanent ban. So I'll stop there. I think I wanted to talk about this just because, Monster Hunter Wilds has been in the spotlight, but there seems to be kind of two different approaches when it comes to mods in your game from a developer or publisher perspective. One is you look at people like Bethesda who seem to almost promote modding their game or, being really, really cool with it and sometimes even celebrating it. And then on the other side, I'm not really sure where Capcom falls, but I know there are some who seem to be more I just saw the comment, who seem to be more reluctantly complicit with it. And Capcom's been in the news before about, how they tolerate mods. And it's just odd to me that, this paid DLC is vulnerable enough where people were just able to get it without paying for it. But I don't know, Brandon, you both play Monster Hunter on PC. Brandon, you're more of a mod guy, I guess, in some of the other games you play. So what are your thoughts? Would you experiment with any mods in Monster Hunter, or are you just fine with the way the game is?
I mean, this game I was fine, but I certainly wouldn't be opposed to changing a few things about it. I've seen some interesting mods, like, things that brighten up the color palette. At times, I feel like, I don't know if it's just my monitor, but I can't really get it as vibrant as I want. And I've seen people talking about mods to make it a little bit more vibrant. I've seen people talk about ways to work around, and this would tap into what you're saying as well. I saw a mod that would allow you to infinitely change the way your character looked, and Capcom has an option. You get one free one, and then after that you have to pay for it. So there was something that you could work around that. So I would imagine that would also be a bannable offense, because I feel like really what Capcom's upset with right now is that they're having a slice of their pie taken. And that's kind of how it reads to me, is that the problem they have with it is you're essentially stealing something that is paid, right? You're not changing your horn in the game into a toy saxophone or changing the shit monkey into Gemma or vice versa. You're just like taking stuff that like literally they have up for sale and like selling a rip-off version of it almost or something, you know what I mean? Or like making a clone of it. So I think that's kind of where Capcom stands, I assume. Although, it is kind of a tricky thing, because once they take a stance on this, I mean, it could easily make a lot of other things bannable. And I mean, we even talked about last week how, what was it, Activision was banning people that were even in and I know the story we talked about, the guy ended up getting it reversed, but we're banning people that were in a modded lobby. So I feel like unless they can hone in on like really specifically what certain people are doing, I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of fucks the whole modding community, to be honest with you, because at some point, they got to take a stand. And the point is they are losing money at this point, and I think that's really what they take offense to. So I don't like it personally, but I understand with this specific scenario, if that's the angle Capcom is working, is that you're essentially like getting the DLC for free. Not exactly, but you gather what I'm saying. You know what I mean? You're like finding a way to get it without getting it. So
Well, I think this story really actually shines a positive light on Capcom if you're a fan of modding, because it basically says, look, they know people are modding. Clearly, they can figure it out in some way, shape, or form. Um, and they haven't mod the millions of other people, or I don't know about millions, but the many hundreds of other people who have modded the game, except for this guy who just did it to get stuff that he should have paid for. Um, that seems like a totally fair approach to me. It does raise some questions on how they knew it. I think they said that he fired an SOS flare or something like that, and that opened them up to some scrutiny. But it seems like good guy Capcom to me. Like they're, as far as we can tell, they've only banned this one person for modding, and it was because they were stealing content. So I don't know. It seems like a positive thing. Lucky Capcom, they got all the console players that aren't modding their games to get suckered by their microtransactions. Well, Edward, I think that's the point. They don't want people stealing stuff. All right, cool. 2 games, 2 very different launch strategies. We got the first one. Dune Awakening promises us a breath of fresh air. This is from PCGamer.com. It says Dune Awakening is only a couple months away from release. I'm excited for this, boys, by the way. And its dev team just gave us a few reasons to get excited, including a promise of free updates and no monthly subscription. This weekend, Funcom posted a video on Steam sharing more details on Dune Awakening, which will be open for pre-orders on Monday. The key things that you need to know about Dune Awakening's launch are that it will not launch in early access and that it will not have a monthly subscription. It will receive free updates, including new content, new features, and quality of life improvements. So that's one. And then they said that the Steam page shows that pre-orders are starting at $50, which is already below like a full price game. The digital deluxe edition and stuff like that are going to be a little bit more, of course, but this is not going to be an early access game like a lot of MMOs are and whatnot. But then we go to a very different story. I got to find it here again. This is a story about free-to-play Game of Thrones RPG. This is from GameSpot. Upcoming action RPG Game of Thrones King's Road may be free to play when it launches on mobile devices, but those who want to play on Steam as soon as possible will have to pay. Netmarble announced the game, which tells an original story within the universe of the popular HBO show, will release in early access on Steam on March 26th, whereas most games that release in early access could potentially be there for months or years. Netmarble says in the game's FAQ it expects Game of Thrones King's Road to be in early access for a, quote, minimum of 4 weeks, after which it will be free to play. During the early access period, not all of the game will be available, though players will be able to explore the northern regions of Westeros, encounter characters like Jon Snow, etc., etc., etc. The full free-to-play launch will include more regions and whatnot. To gain early access, which is only by 5 days, players will need to purchase a Founders Pack. The cheapest one is $25 and comes with a cosmetic northern outfit, a Jon Snow emoji pack, and some currency. Then there's a $50 Founders Pack and a $90 version. Of course, none of this is very unusual, but these are 2 massive IPs that are launching RPG MMO type games pretty soon here, and very different approaches. One is here's the release, here's the game, free to play, or I'm sorry, free content upgrades, no early access, whatever. And then we have another one that says this game is coming out for free, but if you want to play it a couple days early, you got to pay us some cash. Dave, what do you think about the state of all this shit?
Yeah, this is annoying. This came up a couple of weeks ago, and I think the concept of early access is a good one. I think the reality of game development is oftentimes developers run low on resources before they're able to launch their game. And I think early access is a mechanism for which that you can get your game to market and you continue working on it with the understanding that you're going to go into full release. And I think, looking at the way early access has traditionally been used, it's a good thing when used, not sparingly, but when it's needed. But I think it's just come to a point where it's been taken advantage of so much where developers and publishers can start to make more revenue off something that isn't finished. And, sometimes they're clear about it to their customers and sometimes they aren't. Sometimes games never reach 1.0. So I just think it's been used in kind of a nefarious way and kind of a shitty way. And I think the Game of Thrones example is a perfect example of a really nasty way to be using early access. And even they're charging, they have 3 different founders, and this is a free to play game. And they have 3 different founders packs, and they're using this as a way to basically monetize a demo. Like, oftentimes early access is you're getting full access to the game as it exists today. It's going to evolve. We're going to add more stuff, but they're putting something out there that isn't even the full game as it exists today. So that's literally just monetizing a demo. And if you look at the track record of this company, like they don't have the pedigree to be doing stuff like this. Like, they haven't proven themselves as I'm surprised they have this license to make this game, but Game of Thrones I don't think has done so well in video games, but that's another discussion. So on the flip side, you look at something like Dune Awakening, which is also coming from a small studio. It's an online game. It's a live service game. It's a survival crafting game. And if you've seen it, you would fully expect this to be the kind of game that launches in early access. Has a bit of a testing phase, has a roadmap, all that kind of stuff. But I think the expectation that the developers are setting with Dune Awakening is we're going in a different direction. We know what people have come to expect, but we also know where that lenience gets developers, and it's not goodwill from gamers. This kind of move does. When I see a developer make the decision to launch a game into 1.0 on launch day without any early access and say, this is the price, there's no subscription, I have nothing but confidence in that purchase. Because and even if the game sucks when it launches, I know that, what they're putting out there is the game. So I really like this approach. I think it's a breath of fresh air. I think we've started to get used to the abuse of early access, so it's nice to see someone not take advantage of it when, even if they did, nobody would bat an eye. So I'm like you, Ben. I'm very excited for Dune Awakening. I hope my PC can run it, but launching it on day one with a full price tag gives me nothing but confidence. So I'm happy to see this. And Game of Thrones, that developer whose name I can't even remember, they should be ashamed of themselves because that is scum and villainy of the highest magnitude.
Dave, real quick on your comment about your PC running it. They do have it's like a benchmarking thing you can download, which, by the way, probably is not a good sign that your computer can run it. But they have it's like character creator and benchmark mode that you can download and check out if your computer will run it.
Nice.
So, yeah.
And if your son was done with Roblox, I'll take that 30 series card.
I don't think he's ever even seen Roblox. Thank you very much. You can have it for full price. How's that?
Full price when it launched, or
yeah, full price when it launched.
The Kelly Blue Book value now.
Actually, you'd be getting a deal if I gave it to you for retail because I think it's worth more than that now.
20% when you drive it off the lot.
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, it is really funny, kind of the parallels that you guys have already spoke on. That it's 2 big IPs and we have very different approaches here. The biggest thing for me with this Game of Thrones, and that is really scummy about it, is that it's a completely free-to-play game. So why anybody in their right mind wouldn't just wait a couple weeks? It's not like I hear people talking about this game, so why they assume like there's going to be enough buzz around it that people are going to be excited enough to be willing to pay $25 to simply play it early is crazy. I'm not thinking a lot of people are going to be sold on the horse mount and the Wandering Crow outfit and the emoji pack for Jon Snow. I mean, I could be wrong.
You're wrong.
But like, it just...
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. I just really don't. And
I don't either, but you're wrong.
And yeah, man, it just... I'm not quite as excited for Dune Awakening as you guys are. I do love, survival crafting games, and I love the movies, albeit. So this should be something that would be right up my alley. But to be honest with you, I'm kind of not excited about either one of these games we're talking about. But clearly, one has the upper hand in goodwill and good faith. I just hope that Dune can kind of deliver. But I have no faith as far as this Game of Thrones games goes, and would recommend nobody, pay for early access, especially with a company that doesn't really have a track record that's stellar. Just wait a little bit. I'm positive you'll be able to buy all the stuff afterwards because that's usually how these games work. So wait a little bit, play it, see if you like it, and if you do, I'm positive you'll be able to buy the Direwolf mount for $20 when the game launches. So
yeah, I think it's a sad state of the industry that people are willing to pay for this. But one, it's Game of Thrones, so you're going to have the super diehards, and two, if it's going to be on mobile too, like that's just money. Like I don't understand. Like if you get on Steam or PlayStation or something like that, and you're like, oh, this game has a bunch of microtransactions, whatever. Some people are marks for it. They're going to buy it every time. Some people are going to really heavily consider it, and maybe they'll buy it eventually. On mobile, people just are like, oh, this game's like $1 million just to sign up and get these free little exclamation points on the screen. I'll do that. And mobile games make so much money. I understand the market is way bigger because most people on the planet, way more people on the planet have a phone than have a gaming PC or a console even. But still, it's just insane to me how much money mobile games make. But anyway, the reason developers and publishers keep doing this crap is because people keep supporting it by the millions. And that makes me sad for the state of gaming in general.
Quick update. Minimum requirements are a 1060. I have a 1070.
Oh shit, dude.
You're good to go, man. You're good to go.
No,
you're going to be running at 20 frames a second, dude.
Yeah. It needs 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I've only got 8. I'm going to have to download some more after the
That's cheap.
the show here. But
how is it possible you only have 8 gig of RAM? How is it possible?
I'll send you a LimeWire link to some extra RAM.
That was a lot in 2015 when I built this thing.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. That was maybe the minimum then, but yeah.
Dude, do you have like a storage closet at work that has a bunch of computers that are out of commission? I bet you could just pop one out and nobody would have any idea.
They all have 16 gigabytes of RAM.
Yeah, they probably do,
The
Dave.
Dell Inspirons can run Dune Awakening better than what I've got
They
here.
probably do.
Honestly, you could probably buy a 16 gig stick for very cheap. Probably even cheaper than you could buy a second 8 gig. Because I don't even think anybody sells 8 gig
Wait a minute.
anymore.
They make one stick now that's 16 gigs?
They make one
that are
stick
64.
More than that, too.
More than that, but they make 64 gig
changed.
sticks.
Things
I mean,
have changed.
they're pricier. Dude, do they allow you to have Facebook up there?
We
Facebook
just
Market,
legalized
Dave.
staplers last week, so
Facebook Market, dude. I'm telling you, you're gonna get some guy selling one of the old one. The case is gonna be yellowed, and you'll find 8 gigs of RAM in there.
Okay. Am I allowed on the show next week, or
only if you get more RAM?
okay?
You're allowed. You still play games on consoles, so that's
That's the way I look at it. Why would I buy more RAM when I have a PS5 right here? And
because you can't play Dune Awakening on your
that's
PS5.
true, but it's Anyways, I'm going to try the benchmark thing, and we'll see how we do.
Yeah, try the benchmark thing. Honestly, like legitimately, if you wanted the an upgrade to your computer without buying a new computer, another 8 gig stick is probably maybe not literally pennies, but very cheap, very cheap.
Good to know.
I'm seeing one for $45, $40.
That's more expensive than I paid for 32 back in the day. So
$18.
Yeah,
this one's probably awful, but it is $18.
Well, it's 8 gig of RAM, so let's go to the next story before we make Dave feel bad. Too late. According to MP First, the European Commission wants to stop virtual currencies that disguise the prices of in-game items. I think we talked about this in passing to some extent a little while back, but with a bit different of a tilt. It says the European Commission has decided to ban virtual currencies in games in order to bring more transparency to the real cost of microtransactions. They've published new guidelines that publishers must follow going forward. The key points of the European Commission's action are as follows: clear and transparent pricing and pre-contractual information, avoiding practices hiding the cost of in-game digital content and services, as well as practices forcing consumers to purchase virtual currency, respect of consumers' right of withdrawal, respecting consumer vulnerabilities, in particular when it comes to children. For years, we've been used to in-game packs that can be bought for a certain amount of virtual credits without knowing exactly how much they correspond to in real money. This is the issue the European Commission aims to regulate. Interestingly, the Commission started not with the usual loot boxes found in popular games, but with a free-to-play game with horses. The game is Star Stable, a Swedish MMO that became controversial for practices that consumer associations deemed to be highly unfair, such as including advertisements aimed at children to push them into making microtransactions, using pressure techniques to encourage compulsive buying, lacking transparency about the real cost of in-game packages, and exploiting influencers without them disclosing the promotional nature of their content. In other news, a survey conducted at DevCom 2024 found that nearly 90% of developers agreed that microtransactions should not be included in premium titles. Keep in mind, 90% of developers is probably they're counting that on number of developers rather than sizes of games. So that's probably like majority indie devs, if I had to guess. But boys, I think this is great. Not because I've been duped by prices, but because I think anything we can do to remind ourselves this is real money and not just fake in-game currency is a plus. And it's a deterrent for... I'm not saying people shouldn't spend money on games if they want to. If you're an adult, or if you have disposable income, you're being responsible, you want to spend money on a game, spend as much money as you want on a game. What's going on? You guys are laughing at me. Probably.
Dave has 8 1 gig slots of RAM. He has an 8 slot. He has an 8 slot motherboard.
That is not true. It can't be possible.
He has 16.5.
50 megs. 500 meg. Okay.
This is great. This is really good. It's kind of hilarious that it was a horse game. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you boys. Yeah. It's kind of funny. It's crazy that like so much good has come out of European Commission as far as like video game fairness.
Why is that crazy?
Because
what are you trying to say, Brandon?
The U.S. doesn't care.
What are you trying to say about the Europeans, huh?
They just want you to consume. I mean, that's what the U.S. wants. It's the free market, baby. It breeds innovation and selling to children without them knowing it. So the European Commission, whether it be technology, like standardized technology, or the forefront of loot box exploitation, or because you said it yourself, Ben, it would be nice for it to just be, instead of V-Bucks, it just tells you the dollar amount, because that's a deterrent. But the thing is the developer is banking on the opposite effect, and that's why they're implementing it in the first place. Because when you see an amount that's not in dollars, you know how much maybe you could buy in the store with that, but it's not a dollar amount. Like, it works the inverse way for them. It's almost the illusion of it not being real money, even though you're spending money. So I do think in a lot of ways it is something that's predatory. Obviously this horse company was doing something, and that was even more predatory than maybe most developers that have good intentions. I don't think all of them are ill-willed, but we even know companies like Fortnite have been, sued by states. The state of California, I think, wasn't it, that sued for like gambling, or like pushing on children or something like that. Even Fortnite, one of the biggest microtransaction games in the world, has run into this issue. So it's clearly a large problem, whether it be with loot boxes or any sort of in-game currency. So I think this is a win for the consumer. And things that have been passing through the European Commission have greatly affected the rest of the world as far as this goes, because oftentimes it's more work for these developers to regionalize their games than to just make a sweeping change. So ideally, this change will positively affect everybody, and not just the European community. So,
yeah, to that point, Brandon, I think we'll find out. I mean, we already know, but I think we'll find out exactly how much these developers value not being transparent in their pricing based on which ones break this down by region and which one just make sweeping changes because they can't operate in the EU. Because, if you're based in the EU or whatever, then it makes more sense for you to just change everything. But like, I don't know, if let's just use Marvel Rivals since it's it's new. If I'm Marvel Rivals, I'm probably just going to make it so that countries that have prohibited in-game currency no longer have in-game currency and keep in-game currency for everybody else, because I guarantee people are spending more money not knowing how much money they're spending. Right. Now, if you can think a little bit, then you're probably looking at it and being like, oh, it's 100 V-Bucks. Okay, I know how much that translates to in actual money in my currency, but a lot of people don't think about it. They just have it and they spend it. So, Dave, how many V-Bucks are you going to buy before this goes into place?
Yeah, this is there has to be some sort of subconscious thing where if you don't see the dollar value of what you actually need to spend, then you're likely to spend more. It's also if I have $10, I can spend that $10 anywhere anybody accepts money. But if I turn that $10 into whatever the equivalent is V-Bucks, there's one place I can spend that money. So by locking people's money into a single economy, then you kind of, I don't know, lock in that purchase. And the other thing is a lot of these games, like they'll have a thing and it'll be like 1,000 V-Bucks. And then you'll go to buy 1,000 V-Bucks and the packages will be like 1,500 or 800. So like you can never get the exact amount. So you kind of need to like top up a little bit. So then you have some left over and then that turns into another purchase. So it's just a very predatory way. And I'm glad that the European Commission once again is kind of pioneering for consumer protection, because there's no other reason for this other than to be predatory and to trick people into spending more money into your economy than you need. So yeah, I'm with you guys. This is good news, and hopefully it leads to more stuff like this, because it's intentionally misleading and it's intentionally pulling the wool over people's eyes. So,
and for me, it's just going to be nice to streamline the process, because I'll buy battle passes for games I know I'm going to play at least a season of, and not all of them, but some of them. And I'll buy the occasional skin, very occasional skin. Usually I'll, just like the one that's in the battle pass or something. So like, recently I bought for Hunt Showdown, I bought like the $25 pack of currency or whatever. And it was nice to be able to get a little bit of a discount, but then I never actually know how much it is until I translate how much did that actually just cost me or whatever. With this, if they just make it so it says this costs $4.99, great, I know. Don't have to think about it anymore.
Right.
Because I'm very selective with what I do buy in games, and it's very little. But, when I want something, if I have the money and I feel like it's going to increase my enjoyment, I'll buy it. Now I just don't have to do the translation in my head anymore, because I'm a responsible consumer. All right, let's talk about the last one. The last story for tonight. Game Informer rescued by blockchain firm with entire team reunited. This comes from videogameschronicle.com. Less than a year after it was closed, veteran games publication Game Informer has been rescued by blockchain developer Gunzilla Games. In an announcement posted on its revived website on Tuesday, Game Informer said it would be returning in both digital and print, with the entire team that was working together during its closure reunited. Game Informer was closed by previous owner GameStop last year, following a 33 run as print and online publication. Quote, over the months since our closure, two remarkable things happened, said editor-in-chief Matt Miller. The first is that Game Informer as a brand and an outlet was purchased and given a new lease on life. The second is that the entire team that was working at Game Informer's closure has returned, from editorial to production and beyond. The entire team. Seriously, I'm still pinching myself. He added, how did this all happen? After first touching base with our team and then sharing our interests, the team at Gunzilla Games secured the rights to Game Informer. Gunzilla is the creator of NFT Battle Royale game Off the Grid and blockchain platform Guns. The studio has the backing of Hollywood director Neil Blomkamp, who is its chief visionary officer. Boys, I'm just going to pitch it to you, Brandon, first. What do you think? Game Informer, blockchain, they're back.
Yeah. I mean, I don't love who it was bought by necessarily, but I guess I'm glad to see it back. We all talked about the fond memories we had with Game Informer, period. We also, around the time of it stopping, kind of acknowledged that this sort of thing probably was on its way out, physical media as far as, video game magazines go. But I hope they can continue to morph, as we kind of suggested back then, and adapt. It's kind of crazy that the whole team is back. I guess that's really fortunate and kind of seems really unlikely. So I'm really glad for the team. And assumedly it would return to business as usual, especially if it's the same people in charge. So yeah, I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere. I never would have expected this sort of thing to happen, and I don't know that it was the best investment. I don't know that I have a ton of faith that this is going to be any more successful than it was on its way out, but this is something I liked, and I'll double down on liking this sort of thing. So, obviously, I'm happy to see it back.
In my thoughts, Brandon, I think you're right about business as usual, but I also think that if they are smart and if the company that has bought them is smart, and if my suspicions about, corporate overlords with GameStop and, very corporate type structures are true, they'll probably branch out into other things and do more different stuff that's going to be more current. Like, I have a feeling, the GameStop Corporation was like, here are the things we've done for 30 years. Let's keep doing them. And, not allowing for a lot of creativity, maybe. I think they did great work with what they were doing, but I just think that innovation is what's going to move these types of things forward, for sure. And I think that's a pretty small team that they're bringing that was there at the end because they'd laid off a bunch of people. So it's probably not that much. But I did see an acquaintance of ours, Alex Van Aken, posted something along the lines of, we're back and we got raises. Like, so they're being paid more than they were before too, which means, if the company wants to recoup their investment, they're going to have to do different things and new things to be able to make that investment worth it for them. So
exactly.
Hopefully they're able to have creative freedom is what I'm getting at. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, this is all kind of weird. Because as you guys said, this was a medium that's kind of dead. I don't know how you want to put it. So for Gunzilla to swoop in and revive Game Informer, there has to be something in it for them. And Game Informer was very clear in their they posted a video, and there was a press release that went out and saying that, we have formed our own independent company that we're operating under now called Game Informer Inc. But there has to, why did Gunzilla Games do this in the first place? There has to be something in it for them. And when you look a little bit closer into Gunzilla's games, they're like NFT based games, and I think they've had two big ones that have come out. I love Neil Blomkamp, but you don't revive something that is dying unless there's something in it for you. So when I first saw this, I kind of thought it would be really cool and really nostalgic for me to get a magazine subscription again. I don't know if they're going to go right back into print, but like, if that was the case, I would very much be interested in getting a Game Informer subscription. But at the same time, I'm kind of scratching my head and wondering, what is this going to look like? Because you don't revive something like this unless you have something to gain from it. And you guys are right. Like, if you just go back to doing what you did before, you're probably going to not be successful. So how is Game Informer going to have to change in order to not, or in order to actually be able to survive? And with a company like Gunzilla kind of backing them, it's just, I don't know. I want to see how this plays out. I'm happy we get a magazine back, and I hope it's good, but I'm a little skeptical about the way this is all playing out.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said before, I think that Game Informer was doing great work up until the end, and hopefully they continue that great work. But I think that just the market had left them behind, and many print and other media like that. So I'm hoping they break in to be able to be. I don't know if they were profitable or not. GameStop didn't reveal that, whatever. But I'm hoping they're able to make this investment good for Gunzilla and also not become purely an NFT peddler or something along those lines. So yeah, but it's definitely a beloved outlet that hopefully will continue for a while. Let's talk about what we've been playing. Who wants to go first? It's a free-for-all.
I'll go first because mine aren't very interesting.
There we go, Dave.
I'm really selling the segment here.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Wilds, I finished. The real game begins now. I finished I'm going to call it New Game Plus, because let's be honest, that's what this chapters 3 to 6 are in every Monster Hunter game that I've played. Granted, that's only 3 of them. That's just kind of what it is. I'm okay with it because the monsters are really fun to fight and stuff, but it's just odd that like you play the game once and then you basically start over, but the monsters are just harder. And you get slightly different armor sets and weapons and stuff like that. And there's a couple differences here and there, but it's New Game Plus. That's what it is. I'm not sick of Monster Hunter Wilds, but I am going to put it down for a little while. I did see that they added Mitsusune, or whatever her name is, into the game. I don't like her. I didn't like her in Rise, but I'm going to go in and grind her a little bit just to kind of see if there's any differences.
Do what?
When it came out of my mouth, I knew that Brandon was going to catch on to that, but
No.
I'm going to grind the fights.
There you go.
So yeah, I've put that away for the time being. When I do jump back in, I do want to finally pick up the insect glaive and play with that a little bit more. But yeah, I think about 35 hours or so into Monster Hunter Wilds, and I'm very happy with it, and I'm very much excited to see how the game is going to evolve and grow over the next several months, because Capcom has always been great at that. So yeah, I'm going to come back to that many times. I also, when I was grinding for Ray Dow armor, that's the last thing I wanted to do before I put the game down for a bit. I had a great time, hunting with you guys and Edward and Brandon. We helped each other quite a bit, but I didn't really jump into SOS fights enough, and I realized how easy that was to do and how much more efficient that was for grinding out hunts. So yeah, and it was also just kind of fun because you just kind of jump in and you help somebody, or they carry you a little bit, and there's whatever monster like the system they have for SOS, like the SOS finder is like you can sort it in so many different ways. You can sort it by monster, you can sort it by high rank, low rank, anything. So the game makes it really easy, and it's just a quick and easy way to find what you're looking for without having to do solo hunts. So yeah. I also jumped back into Helldivers 2. There's a new war bond that's been added to the game, and I haven't really unlocked too much of that yet, but back around Christmas time, they introduced the Illuminate enemy faction, and one of the big things with them was there was a new map type where it was like an urban environment. They've now added automatons to those same urban environment maps, which is fine. It doesn't really. I've never been crazy about those maps because they're just a little bit too cramped, and you get flanked and swarmed a lot. And they're okay. They mix things up a bit, but not my favorite. But automatons are my favorite enemy faction. So I think some of the major orders that came in were more on the automatons, so I like fighting them. I also spent a lot more time with DMRs. I've never been a sniper boy in games. I just don't like sniper rifles. I'm really bad at aiming. And in a game like Helldivers, where you're constantly being swarmed by enemy and you need to be really agile, snipers were the last thing I was thinking of, but I decided to just try one, and it really changed the game for me. If you pair a good sniper rifle with a little drone, and you have a good sidearm, which either is an SMG or you call in a machine gun support, it's a really nice loadout, and it's really balanced, and those rifles do a lot of damage, and you can surprisingly make a lot of the outposts a lot easier if you can just kind of sneak up on them and pick off the some of the harder enemies from a distance. So yeah, it's been a nice change of pace for me, and I'm enjoying playing with a rifle a little bit more than I thought I would. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me this week.
Brandon, on to you.
Yeah, so I tried a game. I remember you talking about this game, Arcade Paradise. It's a game. It's like a sim game where you are a kid that is inheriting a laundromat, and there's a couple arcade machines in the back. And at some point, you build it up so that the arcade is making more money than the laundromat. I probably played this game for like 3 or 4 hours. On a lazy Saturday, I think it was. And yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. I didn't find a lot of the games, because that's the other shtick of it too. Like, you put laundry in, and then you can go to the back and actually play all of these arcade cabinets. Like, they're actual games you could play while you're waiting for your laundry. I didn't find a lot of the games to be very interesting, albeit I didn't play for an exceptionally long amount of time. But I found myself just standing and waiting for shit to be done more than actually playing the game, which was fine because I was like very passively playing it while I was looking at my phone and stuff. But yeah, I thought the game was pretty cool. It had some really good ideas, like all the mini games it has and stuff like that is really cool. And a little bit higher production value than some of the other sim games that I've played, and has a a pretty decent feel of aesthetic. But I don't know that I'm going to play it anymore. Honestly, maybe if I'm feeling like super brain dead one night, but it just doesn't. It's not really itching the things I need it to for those sort of games. Honestly, so I like it though. I do think it is genuinely a pretty decent game, but it wasn't really doing it for me that much.
It's kind of how I felt about it too, Brandon. Like I really like the sim aspect of it, but with the whole shtick being that you could play the games that you had in the arcade, and me not really liking those games very much, it kind of lost its luster after a little while. I think I played a little bit longer than you did, probably because I really got into the sim aspect of it. But yeah, it just it's a cool idea. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, really cool idea.
But I think because they spent so much of their resources on multiple different things, like multiple different games within the game, plus a management game outside the game, plus everything else. There's all these pieces that are pretty good, but the whole game, the overall experience is not great.
Right.
So that's what ultimately drove me away from it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I also played some Repo. It's a game that's kind of sweeping the charts right now. It's like a lethal light game. Incredibly fun. The wacky part of this game is physics. You essentially go around and there's monsters and you collect stuff, but everything that you collect is incredibly fragile. If you smack it off a wall, it will lose value. And you can talk to your friends, and you can type, and it will say whatever you type, which is really funny, just to say, fuck you to your friends in the robot voice.
It will literally say whatever you type.
Literally say anything you type, with no exceptions. Yeah, it's good, man. It's really, really good. I can see why it's gotten popular. It also has it's lethal light, and I feel like a lot of games try and ride that really close to the defining game of the genre. I feel like this game does that, but also carves out some very unique things of its own. At the very end, there's a last person standing. When you fail, you got to kind of fight your friends at the end, which is really fun, and then whoever wins is crowned the biggest loser. So it definitely has some cool aspects, but I don't know how you feel about it. I want to play it some more. I've only played it a couple times, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I thought I talked about this a little while back. Maybe I didn't, but I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's probably the best of the lethal light games that there are. It's hard to say if it's better or worse than Lethal Company, because that kind of, if not created, it exploded the genre.
Yeah,
but it's well done. It's a lot of fun. There's some cutesy aspects to it. There are some things that I think are complete bullshit. Like I hide under a table and don't make a peep, and the monster still finds me sometimes, and that makes me mad. But besides that, it's a lot of fun. You got to manage your economy pretty well. The degradation of the treasure you're finding is pretty cool. The fact that you could pick up a plate and go to turn it in, and that's fine. But if you drop the plate, if you turn too quickly and hit a chair, if you bash your buddy with it and he goes flying across the room by accident, you lose either value or the entire value. It totally shatters the thing. So that's a fun aspect to the game that they added. And then I think just the fact that your little guy that you control can either squat down or jump up into the air and become a little broken down ball version of himself and roll across the ground to get away. That's goofy and fun. There's a shop in between every level that you stop at and can buy things that can help you along the way, whether that's upgrades to your stamina or your health or your speed, or whether it's a hand grenade or a gun or a bat or something like that. So it's got some cool aspects to it for sure. It's a lot of fun to play with buddies. That I know that Brandon, you played a lot of Lethal Company with randoms. I'm sure I could find some enjoyment in it, but this is a game for me to play with the boys. This is a game that I would only prefer to play with people I know, just to goof around.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you couldn't play it if you don't have people to play with. You could find somebody to play with. I'm sure there's matchmaking, but
sure.
But yeah, it's I don't know. What was it? I think I paid $6 or $7 for it. It might be 10 normally. I bought it on sale. Dave, I'm positive your computer could run it if you were interested, with 8 gig. But I just had to bring it up one more time. But yeah, I'm having a good time with it. Just goofing around.
Yeah, it's good shit. Also, I played Honey Pop, which is like an anime dating sim Connect 4 game almost.
Is anime the right descriptor for it?
Actually, yes. The second one is much more provocative than the first one.
Okay.
And I saw that, was it Wario or somebody tweeted that it was free one day, and then I tweeted it out in the Discord. But then I just
tweeted it into the Discord.
Yeah. I Googled it into the Discord. I put it in the Discord so nobody would miss out, and I did actually add it to my library. And the one day, it was actually the same day that I was trying out Arcade Paradise. After I got bored with that, I booted this up, and I was day drinking too, so I was like many glasses of wine deep when I started to do this. But yeah, I can't even get the anime women to like me, let alone the women in real life. So like, I don't know, man. I got really frustrated. It might have been the cab talking, the Cabernet. But like, I'm gonna have to try it when I'm sober, because I couldn't figure. I just kept failing the puzzles over and over and over. It was like for every 4 or 5 puzzles I would do, I would succeed at one of them, and I guess that's pretty akin to the ratio I have with women as well as digital women apparently. But yeah, it's maybe if I can understand it, I'll enjoy the game, but it's leaving a lot to be desired so far. But last but certainly not least, I've been playing a lot more VR chat.
Speaking of digital women or men.
Yeah, dude. That, honestly, I'm really, really enjoying VR chat. I feel like I'm missing out a lot by not being in a headset. But it's a fairly comparable experience. Obviously, you lose a lot of the stuff, but a lot of what I'm doing in VR chat is like a social thing. I can't really play the games as well. Like, there's a lot of really cool games that I've witnessed, but some of them don't work as well because you're not in VR. You're not using your hands. You're just kind of walking around. So desktop is not too bad for like social stuff. But like, for instance, like you could play pool, like literally play a game of pool, but like I can't because I don't have, control of my arms. So even stuff like that, I feel like I've just broken the surface of what this game has to offer. A lot of it's empty, actually, to be honest with you. There's just like a lot of barrenness. I feel like there's probably like a couple thousand worlds that have a population, and then there's just like probably hundreds of thousands that have 0. But yeah, it's been interesting. I've met a lot of really cool people. Yeah, it's been fun.
How big is the area? Like, in one world, how big is that world?
It varies very drastically. Like,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Like, it can be as small as like a room, or like a sprawling field that like is out of render distance.
Gotcha.
So
I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's very chaotic, and I've been enjoying it quite a bit. Chaotic evil, chaotic good. It's somewhere in between. So
I had to break out the headset and check it out.
Dude, it's wild. I'll take you to some worlds, man.
That sounds like a dare, an offer, and a threat at the same time.
Yeah, dude. I got you, boo. But that's it. That's all I've been playing. I coded a little bit on Monster Hunter. I've been trying out some other stuff. Also, I will say one more thing. I did play more of Blasphemy. That game is so fucking hard. I'm not saying I'm done playing it, but the past couple times I've tried to play, it's not a game I want to play when I'm tired. So I'm going to want to try and play it again on the weekend when I haven't been drinking the night before. Like, I don't want to come home and play that game necessarily. You know what I mean? Like, after a long day of work. Yeah. It's just not that for me. Not only is it like a Souls-like game in a lot of ways, but it's also a platformer, which I'm very bad at. So it's like a double whammy there for me. So
yeah,
that's it, boys.
All right. For me, I already talked about Repo. Continuing to play Hunt pretty frequently. I've been playing with my buddy Jimmy a lot, and there's a new event starting tomorrow, which I'm sure I'm going to be playing it even more. So a little update though on this is one of my New Year's gaming resolutions / challenges. I was at Prestige 4 at the end of the year last year, and I said I needed to get to 10 by the end of this year. I am already halfway through 7. So I'm about halfway, maybe a little further than halfway. So we're going to get there. Don't you worry, guys. It's going to happen. As long as Jimmy keeps playing with me and I have someone to play with. Because I don't like playing Hunt alone. It's not a game I like to play solo versus trios. That is not fun for me. So, because I'm bad at it. I've been playing little pieces of different things. Like I play Rivals for a little bit, like half an hour, a couple matches, whatever. Then I'll switch over to Overwatch with some of the guys for a little bit, and then whatever. I'm just hopping around, playing some Brotato on my Steam. I've actually been playing pretty much any opportunity. I'm just sitting doing like, I shouldn't say doing nothing because I'm sometimes doing stuff, but like any opportunity I have where I'm not working, I'm like kind of playing on my Steam Deck a little bit, which is part of my resolution, but that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to escape, to be realistic. But I've been playing Brotato on that thing. Like, it's going out of style, man. So you guys got to check out Brotato. It's good shit. But Fragpunk, this game came out, I don't know, a couple weeks ago. It kind of made a bit of a splash at first, like when it was announced, and then I kind of just thought it disappeared somehow. But Fragpunk is, let me try to put it this way. I like the base gameplay of Fragpunk a decent bit. Not enough to probably abandon anything else that I'm playing, but enough to say, like, this is an okay game. The bad part about Fragpunk is everything else. There are so many, and it's a free-to-play game. I think they classify it as a hero shooter, but it's like a mix of Overwatch with Valorant with Counter-Strike. There's like a billion different things about Fragpunk that they're trying to mix all these different genres in, which is cool that that's like melding all those different ones, but also maybe detracts from a little bit. But at its core, it's a team shooter to an extent. But the problem with this game is that it's got so many different microtransactions, and like there's like a 3 or 4 tier battle pass. There's a million exclamation points every time you finish a game, which I played like 3 or 4 games. So nothing crazy, but there's a million exclamation points every time you finish a game to show you all the new things you unlock, to go to each place. And every time you click on something, it's trying to get you to buy something else. And once again, like, be responsible, play games, and only spend the money you want to and have to spend. But this is egregious. It's like ridiculous. And I know it's a free to play game. So again, I'm not being as harsh on it as I would be if it had a third as many microtransactions and it were paid. Like I'd probably be harder on it even then, but this is still a lot. There's so many things. The menus are so deep, and it seems like everything, fortunately, is cosmetic. But it just makes me not want to play that. Like, I'm just like, let me get into a match and not look at these menus. So anyway, Fragpunk base gameplay, okay. Overall experience, subpar. Derek O says, Ben, are you going to become a Wildgate main? Looks extremely Sea of Thieves, but space. So I did see this game circulating a day or two ago, or maybe it was today even. The days are going so quickly. Wildgate appears to be, Sea of Thieves in space is essentially how it was put. It looks cool. I'm going to check it out. It is an extraction shooter, which I am into extraction shooters. That automatically eliminates some of the people I regularly play Sea of Thieves with. And I play like Sea of Thieves, like I stream it like 3 hours a week, and that's all I'm playing it now. But I think that Wildgate definitely has some potential. But it's not an exact 1-for-1 for sure. Sea of Thieves is kind of an extraction shooter when you think about it, because, you're trying to go in, get treasure, maybe compete against other crews, turn it in before you get sunk. Like, it's kind of an extraction shooter in a way. Right. But this is actually like an extraction shooter. So I'm going to check it out. I signed up for the playtest as soon as I saw it was available to sign up for. So let's check it out. It's made by ex-Blizzard people. I did not know that. I just saw it and thought it looked cool. And that's all we have for the show, boys. That's it. That's all she wrote. We done. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us, chatting it up. Thanks, Hulk Hogan, for dropping by and throwing money at us. We appreciate that, of course. You can throw more money at us, anybody who wants to, at patreon.com/handsomephantom. You can sign up for as little as $1 a month, as I mentioned before. Ad-free early audio access. All the love and affection we can give to people we don't know. You can also join the Discord at handsomephantom.com/Discord and hang out with us losers on a pretty regular basis. Boys, did I miss anything? Are we ready to go?
That's it, baby.
That's all she wrote. I will see you guys later. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.